Welcome to today's episode of the L&D Clinic for HR Professionals, proudly brought to you by Habify, experts in making sure your staff remember what you train them.
Tsholofelo Sithole, thank you so much for joining us today on the L&D Clinic. It's really nice to have you. It's good to see you again. It's been a while. Are you well?
I'm very well, Jordan. Thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be part of this program. Thank you.
As we both know, happy, engaged, and driven staff really define a company's culture and ultimately their success. From your experience, what impact do you think knowledge application and transfer into their workflows has on the empowerment of your people?
Look, someone once said knowledge is power. So I think knowledge then builds confidence. And when people are confident, they're able to put their hand up for anything. They are more engaged in their work. They're able to even transfer the knowledge to others with ease. So knowledge, when turned into insight, then creates a whole lot of opportunities for people. And it then impacts on employee engagement positively.
Agreed. We often talk about knowledge retention. And as you know, that's our speciality as a company. We really focus on having employees remember and apply what you train them. But I have a question specifically around refresher courses and workshops. Do you think they generally deliver on expectations? Or do you think refresher courses or workshops are merely a temporary bandage for short-term results versus long-term results?
You know, according to experience, I think when people learn in the workplace, when they go for training, they are challenged because they are not able to completely switch off from their work and focus on the training. Therefore, the refresher courses then come in as an absolute value add to the learning process because they come in and they reinforce what the people went through in the classroom training or however they got the training, which was going on for several hours or for a number of days. And we also know that training can also come in as information overload. So having something that prompts you to reflect back on the key learnings and the key topics in the training then helps you to then cement that learning experience and be able to apply that knowledge further.
So talking about refreshing and reinforcing information, I think that's really important because ultimately what happens is people develop a habit around the knowledge that they've taken in and start applying in their day-to-day. Forming good professional habits has obviously got proven benefits, but these professional habits can be difficult to create. If you look at regular training, how do you feel regular training could be converted into habit learning? Do you think the long-term benefits would be visible?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, at Solugrowth, we use a program called Shadow Match, which was developed by Dr. Peter de Villiers. And he says that when a person repeats a behavior a number of times, it eventually becomes a habit. So if that learning behavior is done repeatedly, then it becomes a habit. So I think that is an absolute skill to learn, to continuously learn, because you're never too old to learn and you should never stop learning. Like Albert Einstein said, when you stop learning, you start dying.
Tsholofelo, I read an article back in October last year that predicted that a big trend in HR for 2020 would be remote working. Well, here we are, right?
Here we are.
Totally unexpected, but hasn't that become a reality? Yep. The change to remote working has been difficult for a lot of people. How has Solugrowth managed to adapt to the circumstances?
Well, I think the biggest or the most positive thing that we did through this pandemic was from the time that it landed on the news, we were alert and we started preparing. So a week before the president even announced that we're going on lockdown, we were already prepared. Our teams were already starting to work from home even before then, because we just wanted to ensure that there's minimal disruptions in our service delivery with the clients. So we started preparing early. And because we are not such a big organization with a lot of red tape, it was very quick and easy to get a lot of things in place.
So Lisa Harrison was on our L&D clinic last week, and she actually she coined a phrase. She says the industry right now is fast and fluid. I think that really speaks to us being change agile in our current situation. We need to be moving quickly. We need to be adapting. HR professionals are having some tough conversations out there, but we're learning as we go. Speaking of which, what do you think the future holds for L&D training?
Like I said, you never stop learning. I think what the future holds now is we need to focus more on how is the training provided and by whom, for providing new insights and new knowledge, where people still need to go for training for several hours or for a number of days, where people still need to do the coaching, where people still need to interact with people that are participating in the same training as them. Because as human beings, we learn from one another. We can never stop learning. We need to continue learning in order to stay relevant. So L&D is there for the future.
If I refer back to a conversation that we had a short while ago, we were talking about the mixture between technology and training, is what you're talking about, and then mixing coaching en masse. If you could mix coaching with your standard training, the power of that experience would really encourage employees to retain a lot more information, but also apply it, because they would be guided. Remember, we spoke, and I mentioned to you, it's like going to the gym. If you go to the gym, you have a personal trainer, and that personal trainer holds you accountable to do the reps, to finish your exercises, okay, and to reach your goal. They motivate you to get there. And if we could mix that into your L&D training, and it's not just e-learning, it's not just micro-learning, it's a human connection, and it's the best way to actually empower your employees. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that would be absolutely great. Like I said, in a working environment, it's very difficult to prioritize training. Therefore, to have something or someone that prompts you every now and then helps you to be able to then shift your focus and dedicate some time to training. I think like your product, Habify, is a very, very brilliant product, because it comes in with different modes of training, like quizzes, the gaming aspect of it, the prompting and all of that. It's really absolutely great. And I've spoken to some of our employees that did the trading in the last year, and they really enjoyed how the product was just helping them to enhance their learnings.
Thank you, Tsholofelo. So if you had to choose 2 skills that people are going to need in the workplace after COVID-19, because let's face it, it's not going to be here forever. Okay, we are going to get through this. We need to stay positive. What do you think those 2 skills would be?
I would say, one needs to be change agile. Agility comes in as the highest skill that each and every person needs to have at this moment. The other skill that I think is very important in this day and age is ethics and integrity. And the reason why I say that is because as a country, we've seen what corruption has done. And now we need to bridge the inequality gap in the workplace. And if we're still finding leaders that are not ethical, we will never get to where we want to be as an organization and as a country.
I think those are 2 great selections. We talk about change agile, because things are moving so quickly, we need to move with them. You'll usually find that large organizations, they tend to struggle with being change agile, but I don't think it's a function of anything other than good leadership. Just on that, it's evident that people are afraid of change. I mean, our latest market sentiment report came back saying that the biggest challenge for people right now is the uncertainty of where we're going to be in 6 months. What advice could you give HR professionals that are currently having to have some difficult conversations, that are being put into a bit of a tight spot, that may be feeling somewhat overwhelmed and maybe a little bit pessimistic?
I think the first one is, don't try and carry this load by yourself. There's people in the organization that you can share responsibilities with. There's a lot happening at the same time. So whilst you're focusing on driving the change, there needs to be someone who's actually looking into the future to see the opportunities. There's someone who needs to be looking at, the current environment and seeing that there's no one that is left behind while we're going through this change. So one thing, don't carry it all by yourself. Secondly, don't underestimate the complexity of the change. Make sure you understand the type of change that you're going through. Make sure you understand the speed of the change and you are able to move at the same speed of the change. And make sure that you can see the direction of the change and you're able to move in that direction of the change. And the last one that I want to say is that don't be afraid to say, I don't know.
Wonderful. Tsholofelo, it has been such a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you for your time.
Take care. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jordan.
Good, me too.
Thanks for joining us on the L&D Clinic. If you have someone you would like us to interview, please drop us a line and we'll do our best to make that a reality. Thanks for tuning in.